Alright, we got Dr. Solo again. We just had him a moment ago with the last SCP, narcotic crustaceans. And now, the one we have now is called a higher power. A higher power. We can't make money. Object class Keller. Special containment procedures. SCP-2634 cannot be contained due to limitation of three-dimensional perception and tangibility. Any objects obtained from SCP-2634 are to be kept in standard secure storage locker when not being used for research. SCP-2634 is a sentient, likely telepathic entity that natively exists in six-dimensional space. SCP-2634 first came to Foundation attention on October 13, 2013, when it made itself known to Dr. Mabry, a senior researcher stationed at Site-63. For Dr. Mabry's full account of the events, see below. And here we have a picture that says, mathematical projection of the object given to Dr. Mabry by SCP-2634. Red dots indicate single vertices, orange dots indicate double vertices, and the yellow dots indicate a quadruple vertex. Okay. Expand transcript. Beginning recording. This is Dr. Jonathan Marbury at 1:30 p.m. October 14th. I have been asked to provide a verbal record of my experiences last night. Let me preface this by saying that I'm neither a physicist nor a linguist, and I apologize. I was sitting in my office finishing up paperwork, and then out of nowhere, I hear someone say the word prepare. Well, it didn't exactly say it, I guess, but it thought it. Or I thought it. I think it thought it with my thoughts. It doesn't matter, I suppose. Anyway, the next thing that I can recall is being pulled through myself, and then... No, not really then per se. You have to bear with me here. I'm going to have to relay my experiences in a way that seems chronologically logical, but you have to understand that from my perspective, all of these events happened at the same moment. Or rather, every moment was the same moment, and each event was also every other event. I digress. Anyway, then I was somewhere else, and I could see it. It looked like, how do I put this? A sphere within a sheet that had been stretched out of itself. It shone a brilliant metallic orange. It was beautiful, and it spoke to me again. It said, Tathagata. I knew that was its name, or at least what I should think of it as. It then occurred to me to be scared. I frantically looked around trying to figure out where I was, and that's when I realized I hadn't even left my office. I think that's when I started putting the situation together. This thing, whatever it was, had pulled me into a separate spatial dimension. I still saw my office, but I could see into it. I saw depths through everything that had always been hiding there. This has been confusing to me for some reason. Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Now, my understanding of hyperspatial geometry is rusty at best, but some part of me felt qualified to make assumptions, and I think I must have asked or thought something stupid like, is this the fourth dimension? And I swear to God, this thing without a head or neck nodded, and then it talked me in another direction and said, fifth. Christ. I understand how hard this must be to conceptualize for someone who hasn't seen it. Hell, I have seen it and I can barely make sense of it. Well, that makes you know, the only one, because mechanics is also confused as hell. I think it's meant to be confusing on purpose. Like, I think like it's not meant to be understood. It's supposed to be like this unimaginable situation. The fifth dimension, as I suppose that's what I was seeing, we were still in the office. But I only knew that because I could see an object in front of me that was the same color as my cactus. It didn't look like a cactus, mind you, more like a set of concentric cylinders covered in a very sharp prism. We sat there for what seemed like an hour. I just took in the world around me, and as Tathagata seemed to observe my reaction. Again, it occurred to me that I had barely stopped to question my situation. So enraptured was I by the things before me. I again addressed my visitor, and I thought to it something that was somewhere between how and Why? And to me it responded, all in time. Come, there's more. Then, just as suddenly as the last time, it brought me further down its rabbit hole. Dr. Marbury pauses for 2 minutes, 43 seconds. You have to forgive me. I do truly wish that I could describe for you just what it is like to comprehend a 6th dimension in space, but anything I could say simply falls short. There are no words in any language on Earth that can convey anything about my experience in 6D space. To suffice to say, it was beautiful. My guide again addressed me, projecting to my mind the word here. As I took in the view, I noticed that we were surrounded by other creatures like Tathagata. Some were shiny orange, like it was. Others were deep indigos and neon green. Some were colors that I'd never seen before. They seemed welcoming in their own way. Tathagata then projected the word home into my head. We lingered there for a while, and I was enraptured by the movement of these beings. Sometimes they would flutter like flags in the wind, other times crashing into each other like colliding bullets. They chased each other like schools of fish through folds in space. More often than not, they moved about in a way I'm not sure I fully understood. Next, I heard echoes of my own thoughts. Oh wait, how much battery does my phone have? Okay, I need to definitely charge my phone a little bit after this, as we have to go downstairs. More often than not, they moved about in ways I'm not sure I fully understood. Next, I heard echoes of my own thoughts. Why and beautiful and more, like memories of memories. And I understood. These things, whatever they were and however they were shaped, existed naturally on a conceptual level that allowed them to move through 6 dimensions, but they were not naturally able to go further. Life in 7 dimensions and beyond was as impossible to them as life in 6 is for us. I think that's why they reach out to us. They think we might be able to help them break through into a 7th, so they can experience the same awe. They believe in us. After some time, maybe minutes, maybe hours, Tathagata brought me back. I watched objects fall back out of themselves as I was brought down from 6 to 5 to 4 and finally back home to 3. It then said to me, tell them. And then it was gone, as suddenly as it appeared. I glanced at the clock. The whole ordeal had lasted seconds. I spent the next several hours in the 4th floor restroom vomiting before I managed to shamble my way into the Director Aram's office and relay what had happened. And that's my story. I have positioned Director Aram to enact a program on site with the express purpose of aiding Tathagata and the other being in the endeavor. I hope we can help. End recording. That's gonna be hard to convince people like, yeah, I've seen the 6th dimension. Like, what? But at the same time, again, it's the SCP world. Shit like that happens. Shit like that does happen. If the problem of tesseractic geometry has been established at Site 63 in order to determine a method of further interaction with SCP-2634 and other of its kind. In the time since Dr. Marbury's experience, Foundation reconnaissance and surveillance assets have traced at least 14 separate instances of SCP-2634, appearing to other individuals' description of such events virtually always match Dr. Marbury's description very closely. To date, SCP-2634 has appeared only to scientific professionals, notably members of NASA, JAXA, CERN, and numerous private scientific institutions. Until such a time that an adequate containment procedure can be devised, all individuals known to have had contact with SCP-2634 are to be given a regimen of Class B amnestics and monitored for possible future interaction. On 3rd, 21st, 2016, Dr. Marbury was again contacted by SCP-2634. For a transcript of Dr. Marbury's report, see below. Another expand transcript. Probably as just as... okay, not really as long. Begin recording. Hello. This is Dr. Jonathan Marbury again. March 21st, 2016 at 11:29 AM. As you are most likely already aware, I came back again last night. Now you're most likely familiar with my name when it's appended by the phrase, you know, the loon that was convinced his hallucination was anomalous. But this time people saw, this time I have concrete physical proof. I was in the cafeteria, probably around 7, talking to Dr. Fairweather about an article I had read in Sadovia about fungal neurological potential that... Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, we were talking then just like the last time I heard prepare in that same voice in my head, and I felt that familiar tug as Tathagata pulled me up, According to Caroline and the half dozen others in the room, it looked like I had fallen inside over myself and then I disappeared. The trip was different than before. Instead of slowly working me upward, Tathagata just pulled me all the way up into the sixth space until I was pretty sure that I had remembered what it was like. The thing about brains calibrated for three-dimensional life is that they can't really visualize anything higher. You can never really see it unless you're looking at it. It was just as beautiful as it was when I first saw it. Maybe more so now that I wasn't also really in shock. I wish language had the words to fully explain it. I saw Tathagata there again, looking the same as before. Sphere within a wavy plane and all that. I think it was looking at me, waiting for a reaction, so I just said, hello. It fluttered a bit, I think trying to imitate a wave. And then it got strange. It glided over to me and grabbed me, I think. And it carried me, not through dimensions this time, but through space. It physically brought me somewhere else. I think it was some sort of city or something like that. There were lots of huge spiraling towers that sort of bent in on themselves and stretched through the horizon. There were hundreds of the beings there, flying around like great schools and flocks. I stood there just watching for a long time, just taking in the shapes and colors. God, the colors. After a while, I turned back to Tathagata. My eye has something's happening with my right eye, for sure. And just asked why it brought me back. It seemed to think for a second before saying, a reminder. I think I understood. About to start telling it that none of you had believed me and that sequestering the necessary resources was just about impossible. But as soon as the thoughts entered my head, it reached out again. One corner of its sheet seemed to pull an object out from somewhere and hand it to me as much as something without hands could. I took it and turned it over in my palm. It was a cube. Well, 6 cube. It addressed me and said, convince. And then I was back in the cafeteria. I must admit, I don't remember a lot what happened next. According to Carolyn, it was mostly vomiting. As soon as I was coherent again, I realized that it was still holding something. And I held it up and... well, I'm sure you all seen it by now. I don't know how I did it, but the 6 cube was still a 6 cube. Not just a projection or a model, but an honest to God 6 cube in 3 space. Nobody likes looking at it, except for the guys over in DG. They all lost their damn minds when I showed them. Doesn't really gel well with the human brain. I think I finally managed to convince everyone. Yeah, I mean it's the same way how like in Nightmare on Elm Street when like nobody believed that Freddy's real until like, you fucking until like I think it was Nancy that pulled his hat from the dream state into the real world and was like, see, how the hell did I do that? So we know that the primary goal of all personnel assigned to SCP-2634 is to create an effective and lasting containment solution. All other efforts are to be considered secondary. And any personnel found to be pursuing other goals with any ultimate intention other than containing SCP-2634 will be assigned elsewhere. No, guys, help him out, please! Addendum. On the 17th, the Department of Tesseract Geometry managed to briefly open an unstable gateway in what is currently believed to be 4-dimensional space. This was accomplished using information gathered from the object Dr. Marber was given by SCP-2634. Said object possessed several anomalous properties derived from its existence in 6 spatial dimensions as follows. Objects able to be handled and interacted with without any apparent physical contact, likely stemming from non-visible projections into 3-dimensional space perpendicular to higher dimensions. Personnel assigned to the Department of Tesseract Geometry have become quite adept at manipulating the object in this fashion. Extended visual contact with the object evokes a sense of discomfort, occasionally leading to migraine headaches and nausea. This phenomenon is not believed to be cognitive hazardous in nature, merely a result of the human brain inability to accurately reconcile a 6-dimensional visual image. On rare occasions, the object may temporarily cause 3-dimensional objects that it contains to appear as projections of equivalent 6-dimensional objects. It should be noted that affected objects do not actually become 6-dimensional. Object cannot be photographed. All attempts at doing so will instead depict the object as a three-dimensional projection of a six-dimensional cube. Woo! So it's basically a not only a creature from different dimension, from higher dimensional planes, but also like different dimensional worlds. At the end, of course, as the SCP itself says, it's hard to describe what a fifth, sixth, and like even what the fourth, you know, it's hard to describe what all these dimensions would look like. So it makes sense that like the whole story is like Dr. Mark would be like, I eat this, I don't even know how to explain it to you. Because it's not something like that human words have a way to explain. So I think it's not that complicated as we thought it would be. At first I was like a little bit worried, but then I was like, oh, okay, it's just a... Yes, the small descriptions we got from the sixth dimension might be a little bit confusing, but it's basically is like person gets a tour to higher dimensional realms, comes back and wants to help Tathagata, but of course Foundation's like, no. Why would we help that thing? It's an SCP. We should contain it. That's what we do. Why would we? Why should we care about its struggles? We should contain it. There's a risk. It has gone around NASA and JAXA and CERN and asking random people to help it out. That is risk to normality. Also the fact that that Dr. Mob was just like into itself when it got picked up by Tathagata is kind of hilarious. The idea of just something like it's like, oh, fold, and it's just gone. But only for a couple seconds. Only for a couple seconds. Okay, I'll be right back. I have to plug in my phone because I have to make sure that this phone is fully charged for the alarm, because I cannot oversleep tomorrow. Be right back.